right, hey guys, Ms. Raymond here to talk about poetry and in particular figurative language, using figurative language in poetry. And we're just going to focus on similes and metaphors today. All right, so figurative language or figures of speech are tools that writers use to create images or paint pictures in your mind. Similes, metaphors, personification, hyperboles are all examples of figurative speech. All right, so a simile compares two things using the words like or as. They compare one thing to another to create a vivid image. So the runner streaked like a cheetah. All right, so poets use comparisons between things to make you think about them in a new way. And they are used often to surprise a reader and to create strong images. So let's look at it. A poem with several examples of similes in it. The World by Noel Berry, and the similes are highlighted in yellow. The trees are like the hair of the world. The city is like the heart of the world. The wind is the flute player playing in the night. The cars beeping horns are like buttons beeping inside the earth. Each bird is like a single piccolo singing away, and the grass, just like me, being buried under the snow. All right, so let's look at our comparison. So we had trees to hair, right? We had city to heart. We had car horns beeping to buttons. We had a bird to a piccolo. A piccolo is an instrument kind of like a flute, but smaller and at a higher pitch. And then we had grass to a person. All right. All right, here's a poem, another poem with some examples of similes. Flint. An emerald is as green as grass, a ruby red as blood, a sapphire shines as blue as heaven, a flint lies in the mud. A diamond is a brilliant stone to catch the world's desire. An opal holds a fiery spark, but a flint holds fire. So this has a number of good simile examples in it. We've got emerald is as green as grass, ruby red as blood, sapphire as blue as heaven, diamond, oh, not that one, sorry. But yeah, so a bunch here at the beginning, right? All right, moving on to metaphor. A metaphor compares two things without using the words like or as. It gives the qualities of one thing to something that is quite different. So, for example, the winter wind is a wolf howling at the door. So remember, the metaphor, it's a comparison between two things, but it does not use like or as. A poet describes a thing or a person as if it actually were the other thing or person. And this helps create a clear, memorable picture, and it tries to get you, the reader, to see the subject in a different way or a new way. So let's look at a couple examples of metaphors and a poem Dreams by Langston Hughes. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. So you can see we have a metaphor, life is a broken winged bird, so comparison of life to a bird, and then life is a barren field frozen with snow, so the comparison of life to a field. All right, here's another example. The Night is a Big Black Cat by G. Orr Clark. The night is a big black cat. The moon is her topaz eye. The stars are the mice she hunts at night in the field of the sultry sky. So again, the night is being compared to a cat and the stars to mice. All right, so we're going to watch a video from vocabulary and take a simile and metaphor quiz from vocabulary.
Christina was walking home by herself after babysitting. The night was dark. She walked by a cornfield. The crickets made sounds. Eyes glowed from the cornstalks. What?
This sounds like a good story.
Yeah?
I'ma let you finish.
Okay.
But these lines are boring.
Really?
They're not vivid enough.
Huh.
We need to make this come to life with some similes and metaphors.
Okay.
Got a story laying flat on the page. Want it to come to life like a play on the stage. Describe using metaphors and similes. Writing vivid stories will be a breeze. A similes, a figure of speech. Using like or as to compare different things. A metaphor compares things to without like or as. Don't get them confused. Now let's rewrite that story from before, but this time let's use similes and metaphors. Take this line.
The night was dark.
That's written simply, without much spark. Let's add a metaphor. I'm on this.
The night was a cave of darkness.
Now the night isn't actually a cave, but that line is more vivid on the page. It's a metaphor I didn't use like or as. Now let's add a simile, lightning fast.
The crickets made sounds.
That line is really boring. How about
The crickets were like an eerie symphony.
see the word like? That's a simile. They don't have to make your lines frightening, but they'll improve your writing fast as lightning. Compare things with a metaphor. Metaphors are a home run, yeah, for sure. Use like or as for a simile. That definition's like glass. It's clear to me. Compare things with a metaphor. Metaphors are a home run, yeah, for sure. Use like or as for a simile. That definition's like glass. It's clear to me. These tools might seem easy to swallow, but there are some rules you need to follow. Compare so your readers will understand. Get it together like a rubber band. For instance, here's a simile not to use.
The eyes glowed like my sister's shoes.
That doesn't work. We don't know what they look like. So that simile has gotta take a hike and make sure it matches the story's tone, or else it won't work like a broken phone. Our story is scary, so our simile should match. Silly similes might make the reader laugh. Like,
The cricket sounded like a monkey doing math.
that's random. Similes and metaphors of puppies and cats. People love them. How many did you catch in this rap? Compare things with a metaphor. Metaphors are a home run, yeah, for sure. Use like or as for a simile. That definition's like glass. It's clear to me. Compare things with a metaphor. Metaphors are a home run, yeah, for sure. Use like or as for a simile. That definition's like glass. It's clear to me.
All right, and we're going to take a quiz on vocabulary.com about similes and metaphors. So if you don't have paper and pencil, then go ahead and pause the recording and go ahead and go grab paper and pencil. I'm going to have you just number 1 to 10, and you just need to write A, B, C, or D down. And then we will check our answers at the end. It'd be great if you could hold on to it, either take a picture of your answers and email it to me, or hold on to it and turn it in at the end of the school year. All right, question 1. Both similes and metaphors. A, compare things. B, use the words like and as. C, are ways words can rhyme in a poem. Or D, make a story less vivid. So you write down the letter of what you think is the best answer. Question 2. A metaphor is a figure of speech that A, uses the words like or as, but doesn't compare things. B, compares things without using the words like or as. C, gives a non-human thing human traits. Or D, uses a word that sounds like what it means. All right, so write down the letter of what you think is the best answer. Question 3, which of the following sentences contain a simile? A, the thunder was loud. B, the thunder boomed and rumbled. C, the thunder growled and the windows shook. D, the thunder growled like a group of grizzly bears. All right, so choose the best answer, write the letter down. All right, question number 4, which of the following sentences contains a metaphor? A, the boy was upset at himself. B, the boy was a tornado of emotion. C, the boy said he'd die of shame. D, the boy did not like what he'd done. So you're looking for a metaphor. So choose what you think is the best answer. Just write the letter down. We'll go over them at the end. Question 5. Which of the following sentences contains a metaphor? A, her eyes shone through the darkness. B, her eyes look like mine. C, her eyes were 2 full moons. D, her eyes were as bright as diamonds. So remember, you're doing looking for a metaphor, right? So choose the best answer. Question number 6. Identify the figure of speech in the following sentence. The hug was like a soft blanket, wrapping Simone in warmth. Is this A, a simile, B, a metaphor, C, both a simile and a metaphor, or D, there is no figure of speech in that sentence? All right, so write the letter of the best answer. Question number 7, explain the meaning of the following sentence. The hug was like a soft blanket wrapping Simone in warmth. A, this means Simone was actually wrapped in a blanket. B, this means that Simone had a fever. C, this means that the hug made Simone feel warm and cared for. Or D, this means that Simone doesn't like to be hugged. All right, so write down the letter of the best answer. All right, question 8, identify the figure of speech in the following sentence. Mikey waited in the cold until his fingers were icicles. A, is this a simile? B, a metaphor? C, both a simile and a metaphor? Or D, there is no figure of speech in this sentence? So choose the letter of the best answer. Okay. Question 9, explain the meaning of the following sentence. Mikey waited in the cold until his fingers were icicles. A, this means that Mikey's fingers became actual icicles. B, this means that Mikey waited for a very long time and got very cold. C, this means that Mikey is probably a snowman. Or D, this means that Mikey only waited for a minute or 2. So choose the letter of the best answer. All right, and the last one, number 10, read the sentence below. Which of these revisions uses a simile to make the imagery more powerful and matches the tone? I said goodbye quietly, afraid that my voice would crack and I'd start crying. A, I said goodbye quietly, afraid to sound like a squeaky stuffed chipmunk. B, I said goodbye quietly, afraid that my voice might break like Thomas Edison's first light bulb. C, I said goodbye quietly, afraid that my voice might crack and I wouldn't like the way it sounded. D, I said goodbye quietly, afraid that my voice might break like storm clouds and my tears might fall like rain all around us. So which one uses a simile that makes powerful image? All right. Now we're gonna go ahead and check our answers. All right, so you can look at your paper and check your answers. Question 1, both similes and metaphors. A, compare things. 2, a metaphor is a figure of speech that B, compares things without using the words like or as. Remember, metaphor does not use like or as. Question 3, which of the following sentence contains a simile? And that would be D. The thunder growled like a group of grizzly bears. And remember, simile has the word like in it, or as. Question 4, which of the following sentences contains a metaphor? B, the boy was a tornado of emotion. So remember, it's saying that something is something else. So the boy is a tornado. Question 5, which of the following sentences contains a metaphor? C, her eyes were 2 full moons. So comparing her eyes to 2 full moons. Question 6. Identify the figure of speech in the sentence. And they said A, it was a simile, because the hug was like a soft blanket wrapping Simone in warmth, right? They used like to compare the blanket to a hug, or a hug to a blanket. Question 7. Explore the meaning of the sentence. The hug was like a soft blanket wrapping Simone in warmth. So C, this means that the hug made Simone feel warm and cared for. Question 8. Identify the figure of speech. Mikey waited in the cold until his fingers were icicles. So that would be B, a metaphor. Those fingers were icicles, right? Comparing fingers to icicles, but not using like or as. Question 9. Explain the meaning of the sentence. Mikey waited in the cold until his fingers were icicles. This means B, that Mikey waited for a very long time and got very cold. Right, so his fingers weren't literally icicles. And question 10, which revision uses a simile to make the imagery more powerful and match the tone? So I said goodbye quietly, afraid that my voice would crack and I'd start crying. So D would be your best choice. I said goodbye quietly, afraid that my voice might break like storm clouds and my tears might fall like rain all around us. So comparing your voice to a storm, clouds, and tears to rain. All right, so tomorrow you should have some written work for you to practice with similes and metaphors, and also a flip grid. So you can work on that tomorrow and stay healthy. And if you have any questions, you can email me, michelle.raymond@centralhealth.com. All right. See you later, guys.